So entering week 8, this is the top 5 performances I expect going into week 8. And number 1 at receiver, I think DeVante Adams this week is going to be the number 1 receiver in all of fantasy football at the receiver position. Last week, he was upstaged by Tyler Lockett, who had a career game for him with 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Adams, what a game he had last week, though. 13 catches for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns. This week, Adams, I don't think he's going to hit the 40-point mark, but he's going to be the highest scorer in receivers this week. I could see Adams going for anywhere 30 to 35 points and having 160 yards and a touchdown or 2. The second guy I think is going to be the best receiver of the week is DK Metcalf of the Seattle Seahawks. He had an off game last week with Patrick Peterson covering him, but this week I don't think anyone in the San Francisco secondary is going to be a match for the physical specimen in DK Metcalf. This guy reminds me of Megatron, Calvin Johnson, the way he goes up for the ball, the deer-like speed. We saw him run 90-yard sprint last week to save a touchdown, running down Buda Baker. So this guy is an animal, DK Metcalf, and this week I think he does some animal things to finish as the second best receiver of the week. I'm going to say he's going to get 120 total yards and a touchdown is DK Metcalf with 6 or 7 catches. The third guy, Tyreek Hill, he's putting up decent numbers this year, but his numbers I would think would be a little better than this is Hill. He's pretty consistent, except he had one bad game in a bad weather condition game in week 6 versus Buffalo. But this week, he gets a receivers and quarterbacks dream versus the New York Jets, who cannot stop nobody anywhere, anytime. And Hill, I could see him leaking behind that Jet defense for a big 50 or 60 yard touchdown for Tyreek the Freak, the Cheetah. He's going to run wild as long as the weather's good out there. I'm going to see him get a long ball, and I'm going to project him 27 fantasy points for Hill. He'll probably get you 120 yards and a touchdown with 6 or 7 catches. The fourth receiver I have having a big week here is Mike Evans. I think he's going to have a nice bounce-back game. Chris Godwin ain't playing this week. He's versing a weak Giant team, even though James Bradbury's been a pretty good corner this year. Tom Brady, he's starting to connect with all his receivers, but just for some reason, him and Evans haven't been on the same page as much. Evans, he's had a couple big games this year, but that's because of the touchdown rate, and he's only had 2 games over 100 yards in 7. So Evans this week, I think he's going to go over 100. I'm going to give him 103 yards and a touchdown for Mike Evans, and he might even get more. He's due for that big deep ball, and I think on Monday Night Football in the Meadowlands, we're going to see Evans have a performance. And the fifth and final receiver, this guy, he's got great speed, great route running. It looks like he's a 10-year vet already, is Justin Jefferson. This guy has elite talent from LSU, and we've seen it a couple times this season. In his last game, we saw him go for 39 fantasy points was Justin Jefferson. And this week, I know he's got Green Bay, but I don't care who he versus. To me, he's an auto start every week, no matter what in your lineup. You know, Kirk Cousins likes to air the ball out. Jefferson's that deep ball threat. He's going to go down there and get it. He's got quick speed. Not many corners are going to cover him. This week, Jair Alexander, his attention might be all on to Adam Thielen. So he's their number 1 for sure and a great corner. So Jefferson, he'll feast with one-on-one coverage on the rest of the secondary in Green Bay. So I'm going to put Jefferson up there. He's going to have 100 yards or 50 yards and 2 touchdowns, something along those lines. And I expect Jefferson to get you anywhere from 22 to 25 points. So this week, in week 8, those are going to be my top 5 performances, I'm guessing, at wide receiver.